In time, and if you've just joined us, a good morning to you on Africa Rise and Shine. Let's go over to Nigeria now, where severe flooding in Niger State has killed at least 151 people and displaced over 3,000. Homes have been destroyed, and emergency crews are still searching through the debris. To provide an update and insight into the situation, we're joined on the line by our correspondent in Nigeria, Jonathan James Lyamgohn. Jonathan, how are you this Monday?
Good morning, Asanda. I'm doing okay. And you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. We need an update, and thanks for making time for this for us. Firstly, give us an overview of what's happening in Niger State in terms of the flooding, numbers of casualties, and the displaced currently.
So at the moment, the numbers that have come in are not looking good at all. Based on the last details that we got as at last night, no fewer than about 150 bodies are said to have been so far recovered. And well over 3,000 people are still being listed as having been displaced. And the National Emergency Management Agency says that it is still putting together numbers because bodies are still being recovered and people search and rescue is still ongoing. But at the moment, the most recent developments have been since the last 24 hours. The nation's president has also directed for every kind of help that can be given to those who have suffered from this should be extended to them. So we've seen the nation's Minister of Information make a visit to the state. We've also seen a couple of condolence messages going to that. But you see, Asanda, I must also just only a couple of weeks ago, I think while speaking with Lulu, I spoke about a near similar type situation in the neighboring Kwara state. And I stated that time that this year, the National Meteorological Agency had actually warned that there was going to be a lot of flash floods, and it was important for people to take note of this. But almost year on year, we have these things happening, while it hasn't been one of this magnitude for a couple of years, but almost every year in one part of the country or the other. Last year, it was in faraway Borno State. We had a dam that got to overflow its banks and had massive destruction. And then a few years before, we had also a neighboring state of Kogi State, a neighboring state to Niger State. We had a similar situation. Now, in Niger, in Mokwa specifically, we've had this development, and it has completely brought even economic activities to a standstill because there's a major arterial road that connects the northwest of the country to the south of the country. And that road, a bridge got swept away by this flood and has completely cut off transportation.
So the main causes for this time around in Mokwa are unusual rainfall, as the weather warnings had issued. Or is
it was unusual. Yes, it was unusual rainfall. But the sad part of it is that the rains only came down non-stop for less than 5 hours. But because you do not have the preparedness for this kind of situation was very poor, and then you do not have drainages fully being articulated. So once any small situation comes up, you have blocked drains, you have poor drains, and then you have communities that have built homes in floodplains. Like in this particular situation, the place that was hardest hit is kind of like a valley type space, and people had built houses in an uncontrolled manner, sadly.
Yeah. So in terms of rescue efforts, have there been challenges, and what are the barriers and impediments to rescue efforts reaching everyone they need to?
From statement that was made by the managing director of the National Emergency Management Agency when she visited the spot, she did say that they're putting in place everything. They currently have been able to deploy all of what they've got in terms of equipment. So the challenges have just been because the flood swept people into far-reaching corners that their equipments are not able to get to easily. They've been having the struggle combing through, but they were able to make a quick response. And to speak quite glowingly of the agency, this is one of the more recent occasions where you'd say their response time was relatively impressive, and they've swept into action since it happened, and that, I think, has saved a bit more lives than we've seen in the past.
What is the federal government's response to, looking at the history of Nigeria's floods, especially the tragic event of 2022? You cited a few as well that have been happening. In terms of improvements when it comes to disaster preparedness, you do mention that this time around there wasn't preparedness, but what are they saying in terms of how do we look forward now and be better prepared?
Well, the usual government statements have been made, telling people not to stay in flood-prone areas, and then saying that people should be reminded of the announcements by the National Meteorological Agency. But the reality is, this is where people live. This is where people can live in. This is where people's lives have been built over time. So if it's important to match statements with action by providing strong alternatives, by going into those communities and coming up with a holistic plan that identifies places that people should not leave no matter what happens, rather than just telling people not to do so. For the most part, people do not even know how dangerous the places that they've taken up as their abode is. So I think the statements, what we see year on year, is the same thing. A statement that condoles with people who have been affected, that has been said by the government. A statement saying that this is going to happen some more. But in terms of practical action, we haven't seen anything that has changed.
Have there been any international agencies that have stepped in to help?
Usually, at the first, one of the first responders to deploy have been the Red Cross, but that's been majorly the only on ground. But I guess that also is because the Red Cross has a very in-community response system that allows for it to be able to swing into action. But I believe that because this also happened towards the tail end of the week, what we're going to start to see would be a lot of support coming in the new week. But so far, it's the Red Cross that we do know that we've established that has been able to swing into action.
So condolences have been sent from federal government to families that are affected and the displaced. Ministers even going to view certain areas to make an assessment for themselves. But what are residents saying that they really need in terms of urgency right now?
Some of the residents that have been able to speak to newsmen did say they need clean water, because access to clean water has been completely disrupted. They need camps, they need makeshift tents to be able to have places to put their heads. Some families that have lost over 10 people, from what we see, they need more than just material things. They need psychological support to be able to go through this kind of very, very serious period of grief. So it's a scenario where I think nothing should be put off the table in terms of help for the people. Clearly, we've seen also that for communities like that, they ordinarily struggle with the best of nutrition, let alone haven't been hit by situations like this. So it's important to also state that from what we have observed, I've spoken with a couple of colleagues who are on ground there. They say that the situation just requires all hands to be on deck, literally.
Condolences to the families, and of course we'll be looking at developments in this story. I hope things will not get worse from here on out, but better. But thanks again for catching us up on this very important story, Jonathan.
Thank you, Asanda. Take care and have a nice day.
You too. Thank you. Jonathan, James Lyamgohn is our correspondent in Nigeria, giving us insight into the recent floods in Niger State.
Mornings made